All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Two Dudes One Up Gaming Podcast. My name's Ian,
And I am Chris.
and we're here to talk to you about this week in gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just right out of the gate, some games are coming out this week. Starting with today. Today, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim VR for the PC has been released. That is another Skyrim port, another copy of this game that Bethesda has put out in their money grab to maximize
What does that put us at now? 4?
Probably, yeah. So
like if you're on PC, it's like 4 copies.
Yeah.
Because there's Skyrim, there's the like the Ultimate Edition, and then there's the remake, and then there's this.
Yeah. So I'm pretty
many copies of this game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty stoked for the VR thing. We'll see how the Oculus Rift and everything kind of reacts to it. And I mean, I don't know too much about the VR gaming community personally, so I don't know. There's a couple of games that I've seen that have been hits, so I'm curious to see how they pick up the VR version of this game. I mean, I think everybody kind of wants to be part of the Skyrim universe, and I think this is the perfect way to kind of get into the game. So
yeah, I think it's also going to be the first real test to see how long people are willing to wear a VR headset. Because most people, you sit down, you play Skyrim, you play it for a few hours at a time. I don't know if I'd want to wear a headset for 4 hours at a time.
Yeah, it'd be kind of tough.
We'll see.
Yeah. I don't know. I had the what's it? Not the Google Glass. It's the one that like the Samsung put out, the Gear. I own the Gear VR, which I can plug my phone into and then watch. And I was watching Netflix on it, so I mean, a 4-hour session isn't unheard of, but it does get uncomfortable after a while. So
yeah.
Other than that, that was like the big release today. Tomorrow, there's a couple of games coming out. There's Terra for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. I actually don't know anything about this game. I don't know if you looked it up at all or.
Yeah, Terra's one of those MMOs that came out. The best way I could describe it as, it's an MMO.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much
appeals to that market.
Yeah.
I don't really know a whole lot about it. I played it like a teensy bit, like a demo way back when it launched. It was kind of a thing, but
okay. Also being released tomorrow is a game called Adventure Pals. That looks kind of cute and adorable.
It's like a cartoony 2D side scroller with like RPG elements to it, kind of thing. It's coming out on all the consoles: PC, PS4, Switch.
I think
Xbox.
It's 2-player. It's 2-player co-op, isn't it? I think it's 2-player co-op.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2-player co-op.
Let's consult the internet.
Yeah, so that'll be fun to play. Yeah, that'll be fun to play on the Switch or the PC or whatever you got going on. Also, I know, God, what's the?
Oh, it's been pushed back to tomorrow.
Yeah. That's what I said.
Oh, no, you're right. Yeah, April 3rd. Yeah, yep. Still on schedule.
Yep.
Local co-op. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. There is another game being released for the Switch tomorrow, which the name, I meant to write it down and I completely forgot. It is called Penny Punching Princess. That's what it is. Yeah.
That sounds great.
It's an isometric brawler RPG kind of game.
Okay.
Top down with the 16-bit kind of graphic style to it. It's kind of a beat 'em up, just a beat 'em up kind of loot grab dungeon crawler kind of thing. So I'm interested to see how that does. I think it's got a $40 price tag, so I'm probably not going to get it right out of the gate unless it's got some pretty good reviews. And then I think that's pretty much about it for the big reviews, the big releases tomorrow. It's not really that busy of a week with April 20th looming around the corner. I know there's some big releases that coming out then, including the Nintendo Labo, the cardboard that's coming out. But
every week can't have big releases.
It's hard
sometimes to actually make a game.
Mm-hmm.
what it is.
However, they are porting one of my favorite arcade games of all time. That's coming out on the 5th. I feel like it's important enough to bring it up. I feel like it's important enough to bring up this photo. The game is called Bad Dudes, and the concept is that the president has been kidnapped by ninjas. And
are you bad enough to rescue the president?
I know I am. So,
and of course, it's Duke Nukem giving you the mission.
Yeah, pretty much.
So
it's pretty ridiculous. But this game came out in 1988. It was a coin buncher, and then got ported to the Nintendo pretty quickly. I grew up playing this game, so I'm pretty stoked that it's coming out. I will be picking it up.
That begs the question: are you a bad enough dude to rescue the president?
Oh, I am the baddest of dudes. With the amount of money that I dropped into that arcade game back when I was like 6 years old. So I'm pretty stoked about that game coming out. I find that the Switch is actually doing a really good job of releasing the older arcade games. And not so much like the ones that you would expect, like Punch-Out last week, Bad Dudes this week. I'm kind of curious to see what they do in the future. If they keep... If they're really trying to hit my age group, which I think is awesome, along with the younger generation, which I think is super cool.
And I think the Switch is a really good console to release stuff like that on, because more modern games that require more processing power, more attention, more controls to them, like they're not something that you would really play on the go that much, but like something like that with like 1 or 2 buttons and a D-pad, like I could play that, on a plane, I could play it in a car, do it whatever.
On a train, on a bus, do whatever you got to do to get by. So I'm pretty stoked. We'll see how this continues. I know I'm like every week I'm just like, the Switch is awesome, and I'll try.
It's pretty good,
but it's an awesome console. I'm a total Nintendo Switch fanboy.
I do not regret my purchase of the Switch. I fully regretted my purchase of the Wii U, but the Switch, even though I only own like 3 games for it, I'm like, no, this was a good purchase.
Yeah. I think the only console I've ever regretted was the Vita. I bought a PlayStation Vita a while back, and the concept was awesome because it was like it wanted to be what the Switch is today, but it just didn't have it. Didn't have it dialed in.
It was either too early or they didn't have enough good things on it, or both. Possibly both. Definitely didn't have enough good stuff on it.
Yeah. So
they had Crisis Core on there, I think, or was that PSP? Might have been, and then
I think that was PSP. I remember that the coolest thing about the Vita when I had first bought it was I was in Texas and I live on the East Coast, and I was able to log into my PlayStation in Texas and play Destiny when Destiny first came out. So
that's right. Yeah, it was a remote to your.
Yeah. So I was playing. I was sitting in a hotel room in Houston, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. Now, granted, the lag was miserable, but I was like, "This is the future of gaming." I was like, I had high hopes for it, and it didn't.
Turns out it's not. Yeah.
No.
There have been a lot of different services that have tried that over the years to stream you a game that you can play live, and I think anything farther away than on your local network, like Steam in-home streaming kind of thing, I think anything farther away than that, and it gets completely unreasonable. Maybe in the future, maybe when we somehow figure out a way to transmit that much data quickly, but for now,
and Sony's made multiple efforts with this, like with the Vita. They did the PlayStation Now, where they had like the old PlayStation 3 games that you could stream or whatever on your console. Yeah. So I mean, it was interesting, but they just haven't knocked on the door correctly, I think, to open the gateway to that kind of service, which is unfortunate. But we'll get there eventually. I think we will. It's something that I think most people want. So
yeah, well, it would be very convenient,
Oh man.
Well, let me ask you this: what have you been playing this week? Probably still Ni no Kuni, right?
Yeah, I'm still playing a boatload of Ni no Kuni. I'm probably about a little bit more than halfway, probably about 2/3 of the way through. I kind of got stuck on the city builder mode, and was just upgrading and waiting to generate more money, and then upgrading and then waiting and then upgrading. So like I started a couple of days ago after we did a playthrough of A Way Out, which I definitely want to talk about. But yeah, after that, I kind of logged back into Ni no Kuni and was like, okay, let me start back on my completionist task of getting everything.
Yeah, because you're doing everything. You're taking it all the way through.
I'm going all the way. I'm trying to get that 100% platinum trophy or whatever you can get.
Yeah.
So what have you been playing?
Well, you mentioned it already. A Way Out. I've played through that game 3 times now. I played it once with a buddy of mine, Mike. I played it with you, and I also played it with another friend of mine. So it's been good. I did finally manage to see the second ending. I don't want to go too much into spoilers about it, but that game was fabulous. Just really, really good.
Yeah, they did a great job. What was that?
I said I've been playing the shit out of Far Cry 5 as well.
Oh yeah, you've been in, was it Eden's Hope, blasting away the cult leaders and stuff?
Is it Eden's Hope? I don't know. Eden's Gate. It's Eden's Gate.
Eden's Gate.
Yeah, Eden's Gate is the bad guys there, but yeah, just killing the shit out of them. Yesterday I think I spent like an hour and a half just fishing in that game. Dude, it's solid. It's really well done for an action game.
The Far Cry fishing simulator.
Yeah, no, I'm down for it. It was good.
Okay, I was watching. There's a YouTube guy that I like to watch. His name's Muselk. He plays a lot of Fortnite, a lot of Overwatch. He did some Far Cry things with a friend, where his friend was going up in a helicopter and he would grappling hook the bottom. And they would just fly around town, and he would do like loops and loops over the helicopter. So I mean, it looks like you can do pretty much anything in that game now. Yeah,
it's really fun.
I kind of trash talked it a little bit. I heard the reviews at first were pretty bad, and as the week had gone on, I guess more and more people came out of the gate and had said how great this game is.
Did they come out of Eden's Gate?
They may have, they may have been drinking. They may have been drinking that poison water or whatever it is. Whatever.
What the hell is that shit called? Some type of drug that they use as like a storyline excuse to teleport you wherever the hell they want. But
the deal that was giving me acid flashbacks when I was watching the videos. Oh, the Bliss, yeah.
The Bliss, yeah.
So I'm still going to wait.
No, the game is really solid. Like it's not perfect. Like I've found a few glitches. I've had it crash on me during multiplayer. Single player seems to be extremely stable. I've never had anything weird happen to me in single player. But multiplayer, it kind of gets like a little wonky here and there. It's by and large pretty good, but every now and then like weird shit will happen. But yeah, no, the story is at least interesting. It's got like the main story, and then there are like 3 subplots inside of that lead up to the conclusion of the main story. So that's it's been pretty good. There was one that was like outrageously good, and then the other 2 were just kind of average. Okay. Or maybe they just weren't like my style of telling a story. It's hard to say, but I enjoyed one of them much more than the other 2. And I haven't actually finished the game yet, so I'm at like that final boss stage. But the game is really solid. You have like a flight suit a wingsuit you can like fly around in. You can like airdrop onto fast travel locations. Flying around in a chopper is way too much fun.
Okay.
No, it's really good. Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait till it hits on sale. I kind of got
totally
burnt.
Fair. Yeah,
I got burnt on Far Cry 4. I don't think I even finished it. I just kind of didn't enjoy it as much as I enjoyed 3. So I kind of feel like it may be the same, but I'll wait till it gets on sale and I'll pick it up.
I was actually thinking about that. About why I'm enjoying this Far Cry so much when I was kind of getting tired of Far Cry's, because I remember I played the very first Far Cry and I loved it. It was great. The other Far Cry games are nothing like it at all. Right. I played 2 and its expansions, or like its spin-off games maybe, and they were kind of the samey, and they were they were good. It was fine, I guess. Like I really wasn't feeling it very much. I played 3 and I was like, well, this is exactly the same as 2, and I wasn't really into that. So I finished 3, but like just barely. And then I played Blood Dragon, and Blood Dragon like saved the franchise for me.
Oh yeah. Blood Dragon was pretty.
I didn't play 4. I didn't play Primal, and this is the first one I've played since then. So I'm wondering if my enjoyment of this game is partially because I haven't played a Far Cry in like 5 years.
Absence makes the heart grow fonder. So yeah. So The one thing that I wish, because I remember this used to be a thing that they had talked about with old Far Cry's, was that if you had a copy of the game, your friend would be able to log in and play with you. I think 4 had that kind of in play, but it did, but it wasn't that great. Like it all they could do is come in on like a helicopter and fly it around, and they couldn't even get out of it. They were just kind of like stuck in the air. So it was kind of miserable, but I was using that more or less kind of like a segue into how A Way Out is truly you purchase the game and then you want your friend to play. They don't need to own a copy of the game. They can just log in with their EA account and connect to you, and you can actually play through the game. Yeah, which I think that's
It's really cool. Yeah, of the 3 people I've completed the game with, you're the only one who owns it as well. So I was able to completely play through the full game with my friends, and I'm the guy who owns it. So that's really cool. I'm super glad to have that in there. Yeah. I don't know how or EA feels about it. Maybe.
Right. I'm
surprised they let that go.
I was like, in a world where EA is grabbing for money left and right.
Yeah, how did that happen?
They let this slip through the cracks. Yeah, I mean, it's the best move that they could do to kind of save face, I think, honestly. Kind of let that swing through. But if you haven't had the chance to play A Way Out, find somebody that has it, play with them. I'll play with you. I'm sure Chris will be more than glad to play with you. The
I played it 3 times. Let me take a break for a little
bit. the game's incredible. The way they shoot it, the way that all of the scenes develop with the split screen mode. It doesn't feel, it's split screen, but it doesn't feel as I think like some co-op split screen, you kind of feel restricted because, like, especially in games like Army of Two, where there's a lot of action going on around you, you can feel like maybe some of your vision's cut off because you are in that split screen kind of atmosphere. But they do a great job, I think, in this game in opening up field of view for the people that when things are important.
A lot of the time it'll be like 50-50 split, and it's a vertical split like that. But if they if they need to like make one thing like, hey, this is more like this person's doing something interesting right now that's like kind of important, they'll shrink the other guy to like a third or a quarter or something like that and open up him so you get more view of like what's actually happening.
I think it's a great way to tell a story. It's
their camera work in that game is incredible. I mean, do you remember the scene where we're like trying to escape the hospital? Like all the different all transitions.
The transition,
really sick.
They did do it was movie-esque. It was literally like they had a movie in mind and they wanted you to be able to play through it. And I think the story,
did a great job.
I think the story was another game that I thought was incredible with storytelling that I really kind of felt like this connected to was a game called Firewatch. I don't know if you played that one, I think.
Yeah, I did. I never finished it. I watched a full playthrough on stream, and then someone gifted it to me. And I think had I not seen it before I got it, I would have played through it. But I don't know. I never finished it myself. But I mean, it's it was very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, story-based games. I think games that focus on storytelling and you can get away with less quote-unquote gameplay or less quote-unquote like mechanical skill built, like that kind of like you can get away with not being as hand-eye coordinated in these types of games because the focus is really drawn somewhere completely different. So I mean, I love the change of pace. I mean, I've been playing Fortnite a lot, so this was a really, really good, hey, like a stop and smell the roses kind of game instead of like Fortnite where you're just running around with your head on a swivel just waiting for something crazy to happen.
Yeah.
But about Fortnite, because I've been working on my segues this week, I don't know if you've heard about this. The rumor is going into the new update in Fortnite that is going to happen after this season is over. Which I think we still have like 30 days left on this season, but
are they doing seasons now? That's the thing they're doing.
I mean, yeah, they're on season 3. They're on season 3 right now.
3?
Yeah,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So the big rumor that has everybody talking in the Fortnite community is this giant meteor that is rocketing towards the planet right now. Mm-hmm. There are places all over the map. There's with a bunch of like telescopes and. It's very apparent that in story people were paying attention to this meteor, And the question is, when is this meteor going to hit? Where is it going to hit? And I believe everyone thinks it's going to be Tilted Towers, which has been like the bane of most players' existence. The loot there is incredible, but you're always going to drop with like 10 to 20 people there around you.
Gotcha.
So I think they're just going to wipe it directly from the map and start over. And a bunch of the and the reason that a lot of people think that this is going to be the case is that there's a lot of clues in game. The whole theme of this whole season with the skins and everything is like space travel. You've got like the people in the space suits. You've got the Dark Voyager. I think
you got John Wick.
Yeah, John Wick, but that's not really space travel. That's more of just a hey, John Wick's fucking cool. But like a bunch of the emotes and stuff too. You've got like I think there's like a nuclear explosion emote and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see what happens. I think we're pretty much on point to have Tilted Towers get blown up. I'm not sure what they're going to replace it with. Obviously it would probably be some kind of meteor crater, maybe some kind of alien thing going on there. Who knows? But as a Fortnite fan, I'm excited to see what'll happen in the next 30 days.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, speaking of like alterations to maps in Battle Royale games, PUBG is getting a new map tonight. In less than an hour, it goes into beta, and I think you need like a key.
You do need a key. Let me find the link. There is a small thing that you need to update.
Gotcha. Well, he's doing that. Yeah, it's a 4x4 kilometer map. The current maps, both of them are 8x8, so it's half this, or a little. It's actually less than half the size, and it's a tropical style map, I believe. Jungle or something like that?
It's a jungle style map. I'm posting the link in the Discord and the Twitch channel right now. I'll have to do the Discord. I'll have to do the Discord later, but it's in the Twitch chat now. If you can get it into Discord, that'd be cool.
No worries.
Where most of the map, or the two previous PUBG maps, I believe, are an 8 kilometer by 8 kilometer square. This is a 4 kilometer by 4 kilometer square, so it's a quarter of the size. So that'll be pretty cool. It'll be action packed, I'm sure. I think they're stress testing it until.
It'll be nice that the matches will go quicker.
Yeah. The test runs, the CBS Wednesdays. That's not what you want to hear. The closed server goes live tonight at 10 p.m. and runs until April 5th at 7 a.m. So it'll be open for just over 48 hours, 72 hours, some kind of math. So if you haven't actually by the time that this goes up on YouTube, it'll probably be over. So if you can't get on now, then good luck.
True. And for those of you who don't know, our stuff is actually on YouTube now. It's there. So.
Yeah. We opened up the YouTube channel this week. Got the first episode up there. So if you haven't seen it, go check it out. Let us know. Sure. Send us comments. Give us some critiques. We can take it. What else is going on in gaming news right now?
Do you remember? Gosh, it must have been 5 or 6 months ago when I was playing a game called Jurassic Park Operation Genesis.
I vaguely remember you talking about it. It was an old game for Sega, right? Or was this
No, it wasn't on Sega. There was a Jurassic Park game on Sega. No, this one was on PC and Xbox, and I think maybe PS2. But it was a park builder. You could build Jurassic Park. They had the voice of John Hammond in there, talking about it, and cool. It was really cool. Yeah, and so I streamed it for a while, and it was a lot of fun. I had it when I was younger. I had it on the Xbox, and I had it on PC, and I still have it on PC. But so a few months ago, they announced that they were working on this game called Jurassic Park Evolution, or I'm sorry, Jurassic World Evolution. And I was like, oh, a Jurassic Park game. Let me go check it out. Because I'm always down for a new game about dinosaurs, right? And It turns out this is another park builder game. And I was like, no way. So the trailers for it were very short. They were just like small tech demos. Like, here's a brachiosaur walking about. Here's a T-Rex, munching on something. had some raptors in there. I was like, oh, cool. Okay, we'll see what it looks like when it's getting somewhere. And so last Thursday, they released the first gameplay video of it. It's like 22 minutes long or something, and I watched through the whole thing, and it looks exactly like Operation Genesis. I mean, it is Operation Genesis if it were made 20 years later. I am like 15 years later, but I am super pumped about this. We have a YouTube link of another video that was released on Thursday of the same game. That's like a shortened down version of it that we could throw up there.
Yeah, I have the link right here. So let me throw this up, and we'll give it a quick watch.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Right? So I know this doesn't like appeal to a wide audience, right? Like city builders are kind of their own thing, and this game is not going to be like City Skylines, and it's not going to be like Surviving Mars, or it's not going to be like a Sim City, right? Like it's not that type of game. It's more about management, I think. I think it's more similar to like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but you don't get to like build roller coasters or anything. It's just it's more about like research and development, and then like building the park and getting it to go and that kind of thing. And I am just so into games like this, and anything that like combines management simulation with dinosaurs.
Done and done.
Take my money. Take it. Take all of my money. Like,
so, gotta ask, what's your favorite dinosaur?
Ooh. God, I hate to go with the generic Velociraptor, but I like Velociraptors. They're pretty good.
Yeah, they're pretty. All right.
So it's a generic answer, but there it is. I like them. Yeah. They're good. I'm sorry. They're good. Copies can be interesting, man, in large groups. Good stuff. Have you read the book Jurassic Park?
I did read the original by Michael Crichton.
Such a good book.
Yeah.
Important distinctions to make. Like between the book is fantastic and the movie is also fantastic, but I like the book a little bit better, which is really saying something. But the book is really good. It has a few like distinct differences. Like Grant is older. He's got a beard. The girl and the boy are like reversed ages.
Reverse ages.
The girl is actually younger. Yeah. What's his name? Muldoon, the game warden. He survives. He hides inside of like an oil drum, and the raptors can't get him. Hammond dies at the end of the first book. He's eaten by. No, I don't think he's eaten by compies. I think he's poisoned. I forget exactly what it was, but like he's attacked by compies, and the poison kills him. But I don't remember if they actually managed to eat him or not. In any case, a lot of like differences between the two, but they were really good. Getting off track, I'm just super pumped for this game.
Yeah.
I'm all about this being a thing.
Well, a little bit of a sidebar. Oh, this game comes out, it's at June 12th, so it's right around the corner.
June 12th. Yeah, it's coming up. Yeah.
But you bring up a good point about changes between books and movies, and I'm just going to take a quick sidebar here. It's not on our list.
Bring it on.
Ready Player One came out the other day. And I went to go see it in the theaters, and I loved it. I don't know if you had read Ready Player One or not.
I have not. Sorry.
It is.
I know you were talking about this. You were pumped.
I'm super. I was super pumped about it. It's just it's a great nostalgia book. And while the movie made a lot of changes that aren't in the book, I think they still did an excellent job. One of the big changes, it's not really a spoiler. The story is pretty much about, the concept is really about Easter eggs in games and all that kind of stuff. To give a quick synopsis, it's about a giant online virtual reality MMO. And it's a place called the Oasis, and everybody logs in. Like, the whole world participates in this thing. The guy who creates it passes away and says, hey, I've hit an Easter egg somewhere in the Oasis. You need 3 keys to unlock it. And then there's a giant if you can unlock it and get the Easter egg, you'll own the rights to Oasis and like $500 billion. So then it becomes like a giant race to see who can find the Easter egg first, and all the trials and stuff. And the thing that I was hoping for the most is the first trial is very, very heavily based in Dungeons and Dragons. It's actually, it takes place in Out of the Abyss. So a very, very legendary 70s module. But unfortunately in the movie they don't talk about that at all. It's in the book. They change a couple things around. But it's one of those, it was one of those things. The whole movie and the whole book was based on just pop culture from the 80s, the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. So, yeah, Carolyn, I highly recommend reading the book. The book is absolutely incredible. If you love the movie, the book is just going to blow it out of the water. But, yeah, I mean, like...
The books are always better.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But, like, just thinking about, like, the concept of D&D and gaming and how that kind of was so... It's such an important topic, really. From Baldur's Gate, all the point and click adventures and stuff like that from the early 90s and the late 80s, going back, So, I mean, I kind of D&D and video gaming have kind of gone hand in hand. Like, not so much completely aligned with each other, but they've been kind of holding hands and skipping pretty much since the absolutely. 70s.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, they're both a system for delivering an experience to someone, right? It's you come up with a way like, okay, so how can I allow a person to do combat with an enemy in a way that is accessible and understandable? And so you have to come up with like a limited number of statistics that a person can like take that in, and games and D&D both have been trying to do that for a very long time. There are a lot of stats that are shared between Dungeons and Dragons and video games. I mean, for example, hit points. That hit points were around long before video games had hit points. Before video games were even a thing. They're just a measurement of how close to dead you are, depending on what tabletop system you are playing. Sometimes it's, you are getting lucky and dodging blows. And sometimes it's you're actually taking physical damage, and sometimes it's just you're allowed to take X before you just straight up die. Like, you could be fully engaged in combat with 1 hit point, and then like you lose 1 more hit point and you're dead, right?
Yeah,
but the mechanism changes, and it makes more and less sense in different areas. Whether or not you're going to hit something. In Dungeons and Dragons, that's always been referred to as either THAC0 in the older ones, or as your 2 hit rolls and versus the AC in more modern versions. And in video games, that stat is usually hidden, but I guarantee you it is there. It's
Yeah.
a roll of the dice to tell you whether or not a thing is going to hit. If you've ever played XCOM, you know very well what a natural one is.
Yeah.
If you know, like anything.
Well, just look at the fundamentals of video games. It's when it comes to like the action games, and when you attack something, it doesn't matter if it's a shooter or an adventure game or whatever. It's generally, most part, a randomized number generator against a predetermined value, and whether or not it succeeds or not. And that's something that that's the fundamental of Dungeons and Dragons as well. Is really, you can do whatever you want, but the fundamental value that you got to beat scales with the difficulty of what you want to try to accomplish. So
Exactly.
yeah. So I mean, and the beautiful thing about Dungeons and Dragons is that like, very much pop culture, it pulls from everything. You know, everybody knows the fantasy world of Tolkien and the elves and the dwarves and all that stuff, but it pulls from you know, werewolves and vampires as well. You know, and even creates its own stuff. So,
oh, it absolutely does. I mean, if you've heard of a knoll, that's a D&D thing. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And a lot of that kind of common culture started with Tolkien, like you were mentioning, where, you know, elves and dwarves and humans and wizards and all, you know, this, you know, orcs and trolls, and like that's stuff that's everybody knows is like, you know, kind of generic fantasy, right? It all comes from Tolkien. And early D&D was very much like that. It didn't change much. It had a lot of wonky rules to it. There's a couple of really funny ones in first D I could tell you about, but yeah, no, it all kind of comes from that. And then so D&D took that and then built upon it and scaled it up, and, you know, really used a lot of that source material to kind of generate and create its own base of content. And then when video games got a hold of it, they said, okay, well, we have these, like, this stack of like 50 books over here that I can't put into a game because it's too much. I have to like pare it down. And so we went from, you know, hit points and AC and like a couple of monsters to a stack of rule books back down to hit points and AC and a couple of monsters, right? So like it's interesting to see like it kind of do this shift over time. But the tabletop games themselves still retain much of that, you know, large capacity for complexity.
I think my favorite ridiculous rule from old Dungeons and Dragons would be if you were a female adventurer. I believe if you hit level 7, you were like forced to retire adventuring.
4.
It was 4?
Level 4. In first edition, if you were a female adventurer at level 4, upon reaching it, you couldn't like finish 4 and get to 5. Once you hit level 4, you had to retire, settle down, and become a housewife. Like it was in the rules. It's so ridiculous.
It was, you know, it was a different generation.
Oh man.
So
yeah. Oh, another really good one. So spellcasters could not use melee weapons. In fact, they were unable to wield them. And if you were a wizard and you were trying to pick up a sword and you would like, it was sitting on the ground, you would walk up to it and it would like skitter across the ground away from you. It was like, shoot, just like get away from you. And so we were postulating the idea of, well, what if you have 4 wizards that like surround a sword and they all approach it at the same speed, right? Like what happens to the sword?
I think the sword spins 360 and cuts them all down because it doesn't know where to go.
Our DM at the time, he said, well, what the sword does is it's just like it goes underground. It's just like poof, it's like it must maintain a certain distance, so it just like forces itself into the ground.
Well, you
a
know,
lot of really funny stuff.
That was first edition. We are now on the ever so popular 5th edition.
Yep,
it is I think it is the highest grossing edition of all time now, beating out 3.5.
Which is incredible, and it's all Critical Role's fault. Critical Role absolutely became a huge fight. If Critical Role had happened 20 years ago, 2nd edition would have been the most high-grossing edition that ever lived. You know,
if you don't know what Critical Role is, there is another channel on Twitch called Geek and Sundry. Every Thursday night, they have a group of, I think it's like 8 voice actors that get together and they play Dungeons and Dragons.
It is 8,
yeah, and it's pretty incredible because, you know, just the range of voices they do, how they get into their characters. I would say it's almost like a master class of role playing, and it can be actually pretty intimidating to people who aren't too familiar with the game that want to get into it. But if
But watching Critical Role is such an easy introduction, and it's so interesting, and all the players are very charismatic, and
Yeah.
the DM Dungeon Master that they have, he's very good.
Yeah.
And that makes so much of a difference when you play a game. Like, you could play the exact same game with, you know, 2 people, and the DM who's more creative, who cares more about it, who's willing to be more engaging and try more interesting things, he's the DM that's going to give you a better experience.
Yeah.
And Matt Mercer, the guy who runs it, is he's exceptional. He goes the full mile for his players. So
yeah,
props on for
it. Matt Mercer notable roles would be, I think he's Marth in the Fire Emblem series. He's also, I think he plays Marth in the Fire Emblem series. I think he's the voice of Marth.
He's McCree in Overwatch.
Yeah, he does the voice of McCree. It's high noon, like he's that guy.
He did Leon in Resident Evil
3?
6
or not 3. 3 was on. He said some other really notable stuff as well.
You'd probably know his voice if you heard it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So.
Anywho, before we get off on even more tangents around here. Oh man.
Speaking about Twitch real quick, I think this is pretty important to talk about. I don't know if this is kind of being buried a little bit, and I feel like it's important. Twitch has cut a bunch of jobs. They've cut 25 people from very high-ranking positions, which I think Twitch employs about 1,500 people, so you would think 25 is not really that crazy. But it all kind of happened out of nowhere, and it's more along the lines of the people who are in with like the Twitch creative aspect. So it kind of the people who kind of champion the stuff like the talk shows and the IRL streams, and all of the artists that do their cosplay stuff online. Like it was a lot of the people that were kind of important to that section of Twitch. They're working on some kind of aggressive growth strategy to kind of branch more into esports, I believe.
Yeah, to be fair, like if you're going to come at Twitch from a old school gaming perspective, like how it old school gaming is the wrong term, but how the reason that Twitch was initially set up, I mean, it used to be Justin.tv, and before that, I think it was something else, but it was set up for it's called Twitch because it was initially set up for competitive, fast action, like very swift gaming stuff. And if you want to pursue that market, it's always best for a company to focus on something, and you can branch out, but you need to have a focus. And I think if you're coming at it from that very high level perspective, you look at Twitch right now and you say, well, look at everything Twitch is doing. It's doing, games, and it's doing that very well. But it has also been branching out into all these other things that have started to do very well. But you need to focus on something, or else you're going to lose control over the thing that you're trying to be good at. And creative has gotten huge, and talk shows have gotten huge, and IRL has gotten really huge.
Yeah, IRL's gotten massive.
Music, there's a music category now, and they're all doing really well, which is great for Twitch. They're making a lot of money, but they're losing focus. And I think the reason they're doing this is somebody high up. Maybe there's some kind of a role change. I don't know the backstory.
There was a role change very recently.
Okay, then what I feel like is happening is they're looking at this and they're saying, okay, from a business perspective, we need to maintain a focus on something, and we have all these high-level staff that are pushing for all these different things, and I imagine it's creating chaos amongst corporate, right? If you have 5 groups of people in corporate trying to push for their own agendas, it turns into almost a war zone, and that's not a good environment to work in, and it's not a good environment to be productive in. And I think they're trying to tighten up the ship a little bit. I don't know as that's true or not. It's my best guess at it, and I feel like maybe we'll learn more about it in the coming weeks, months. And maybe I'm being a little bit optimistic about it, trying to see something good where maybe there's something bad, but we'll see. I honestly don't think it's anything more than corporate finagling to get something set straight, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think the way it was handled was, I think, very poor. It happened over Google Hangouts. All of the firings happened over Google Hangouts. There was no one-on-one
that's a
meetings.
foretaste.
Yeah, it was pretty bad, and it all happened all at once. So I guess the quote that one of the people, one of the execs had said is that they thought they were getting Amazoned, and because Amazon did kind of the same thing.
I remember that.
So we'll see what happens. You know, like again, you're optimistic about it. I'm interested to see how it plays out, especially because Amazon's got its hand in it. YouTube has got its hand in this whole thing too. Everyone's trying to kind of keep things in some kind of alignment where everybody can make money going forward, which is fine. But I'm wondering on how that's going to trickle down to affect the podcasts like us or some of the other streamers, in a couple of months from now. It doesn't have me discouraged at all, but it's just one of those, like, we just got to keep eyes on it to make sure, we're not getting the shaft on this whole deal here.
Yeah, for sure, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting you brought that up, though. I'm glad we covered that.
Yeah, I feel like that was kind of important that we should have discussed. But to get back onto some of the other the more important topics, out of the ones that we've talked about dinosaurs, we've talked about Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's time to take a trip down memory lane. And,
that is the title. We should do that.
It is. Like if we don't hit it, then what are we doing? I don't know.
We're rambling.
Yeah. It's just
that's what we do most of the time. It's fine.
Yeah. We should just call it the Two Dudes 1,000 Tangent Gaming Podcast. In that
yeah, sure.
So, what games do you remember most fondly, and what made them so memorable to you?
For a long time, people would ask me, "What's your favorite game?" And I had a go-to answer, right? I would always say KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, the first one, right? And I would always say it. And my camera just lost all my focus. I touched it. And over the course of the last few years, after Dark Souls came out, I played Dark Souls and I loved it, and I kept going back to it and kept playing. And I've played both of them at around the same times and such. But I think my favorite game of all time has shifted to Dark Souls. And thinking about why that is, and thinking about the games that I think have had the maybe not like the largest impact on me, but have had the largest, maybe it is the right term, but it had the largest impact upon like my enjoyment of games over time. I think about KOTOR and Dark Souls, but I also think about things like Uplink that I mentioned last week. I think about stuff like Link to the Past. I think about Red Alert 2.
Okay.
And a lot of these games, a lot of it is because I did it with friends. Like KOTOR, I remember one of my most clear memories about KOTOR is a friend of mine, we'll call him Bill. He got KOTOR and he had it on his Xbox. And I was like, oh, that's cool, right? That's awesome. And so I was over at his place and I was watching him play this game, and I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like Star Wars. It's like an RPG. Like, that's awesome, right?
Yeah.
So I went and I got it for my Xbox, and I was playing it and enjoying it and loving it. And we'd get together and we'd talk about it, and then he got it for his computer, right? And I didn't know it was available for PCs at the time, right? And so I was over at his house and I was playing it, and I remember he turned up all the graphics, and of course it was better looking than consoles because that's always been the case. Literally every computer game looks better than consoles. But I remember there was there was grass that was on the ground, and that the grass wasn't rendered on consoles. On the Xbox, there is no grass in KOTOR.
Right.
It is simply not rendered. It doesn't exist. It's not there. And I remember I was playing on the computer, and he comes in, he looks at it, and he goes, "Grass!" And I'm like, "What?" And I remember I pushed Y, and I pull up my lightsaber, and I'm using the single dueling stance yellow lightsaber, like bzz, bzz, bzz. I'm like, what is it? What did you see? Let me fight it. And he's like, "No, look, there's grass on the ground." And I'm like, oh, hey, there's grass, right? Like, just funny shit that I just remember about, just being with people playing this game. And I remember Red Alert 2, my buddy in high school, Dude, I had this like tumultuous relationship with Red Alert 2, but I always loved it. It was my mom who didn't like it, right? Like I remember that.
Was it the Russian? Was it because it was against the Russians or whatever? Or
no, she had no idea what the game was about, right? I'll get into it in a second, but like I remember I got this. I went to it must have been a Walmart or something, and I had saved up some of my lunch money, and I bought this game because my friend like saw it and he was like, "We should buy this and play it." And I'm like, "Okay, let's play this game," and so we buy Red Alert 2 and we go home and we hook up our DSL connections and we're playing some Red Alert 2, right? And I'm just like, I'm playing it all the time because this game is so amazingly good. And it's like we'd be at school and we'd be talking about it and discussing strategy and like things that we did in multiplayer and all that jazz and how co-op was working and stuff. And then I remember my mom came in and saw me like playing this game and she was like, "You've been playing this game all the time. You're not like going outside. You're not like,
you're not interacting
walking
with the
around
world.
the house, like reading books, all this other stuff you used to do." Because I'm just like preoccupied with this. This game was awesome. That's all I wanted to do for a long time. And so she threw it away.
Oh no!
Yeah, because she was like, "It's changing your life," and I'm like, "It's a good thing, right?" And so she throws it away, and I'm like, I must have been like 13, 14 maybe. I don't remember exactly, but like, yeah, and it's just like threw it away. And I'm like, no. So I remember I organized with Kevin, right? My buddy. I was like, all right, here's the plan. I'm going to give you a certain amount of my lunch money every day, right? And you just like take it home and you like siphon it into a little like a pocket or something. And then next time you go to a store with your mom, whenever you have enough money and you see the game there, buy it, bring it to me at school, right? And so he does this, right? Over the course of like 2 weeks, I bring him like $2 or $3 a day until we get up like 30 or 40 bucks or however much it was. And he goes to Walmart with his mom and he gets this game and he brings it back to me at school. And he got me Red Strike. So it was Red Alert 2 and Yuri's Revenge. And I bring it home and I'm like, yes! I'm ready for this. And so I install it in my computer and I'm ready to go. And the disc starts spinning and the CD-ROM breaks in my drive. No. I've never seen this happen before and it's never happened again. I have never seen this happen again, but the CD-ROM breaks into like 6 pieces in the drive. And so I'm trying to play, and I'm playing this game and I hear this like, and I'm like, what was that? And I open the drive and it doesn't open. I'm like, what? So I like pull it a little bit, like jostle it, and it opens. And I pick up my disc and it's in like 5 pieces. I'm like,
oh no.
Yeah. And so, but here's the thing: Red Alert 2 comes with 2 discs, right? There's an Allied disc and a Soviet disc. And I had been trying to beat the Allied campaign, so I just went to trying to play the Soviet campaign. But eventually, I saved up enough money to have my buddy go buy me another copy of the game. Yeah, and bring it back. And so, but yeah, he and I would just like play this game all the time. And so like games like that I remember that are just like so great are the game itself was really solid, and I still will go back and play these games, but so much of that is tied in with my experience with other people also playing these games. Same thing with like Link to the Past. I remember I was playing Star Fox on the Super Nintendo when it came out, and my buddy and I we stayed up late at night after my mom went to bed. We were like, he was hanging out with me, so like he was sleeping over, and so my
you guys
mom
were
went
doing
to
barrel
bed,
rolls
right?
and stuff, just nonstop.
Oh yeah, but I remember I was trying to stand up so that like there was a chest of drawers and the TV was up on top of it, and we're like sitting on a bed like right in front of it, playing Star Fox, like taking turns with the controller on dying or levels or whatever. And I remember I tried to stand up, and for whatever reason, the chest of drawers fell forward on top of us, like with the TV and the Super Nintendo, and everything just like fell on us. And I remember like somehow the wires attached to the TV managed to like hook the TV on top of the chest of drawers to prevent it from falling all the way over. But the Super Nintendo totally like just borked. It just all the way, it was gone. But the chest of drawers and the TV were like dangling by wires off of the wall. So we managed to like push it back up, and my mom comes in. She's like, "What are you boys doing awake at night?" And we're like, "Don't worry about it." Really, I was like, "My Nintendo's broken." But like, I remember all this stuff. And gaming is so much more than just the games. It's the people that you do it with.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
What about you, man? What you got? How about it?
I mean, I don't have any stories that are that off the wall, unfortunately. Like, I mean, I may have some like drug-induced ones around like when Halo first came out, but we don't need to be talking about that one. But along the lines of like just being younger, playing games, like Final Fantasy VII was like that was such a memorable game for me. I didn't own a PlayStation. I had a friend, Daniel Troyshon, who owned a PlayStation, and we would have sleepovers. And for some reason, like, he never wanted to play, but he just wanted to watch me roll through Final Fantasy VII. So like he would have the guide. He bought the strategy guide, and he'd be like looking through, and he was just kind of like my wingman, making sure I didn't skip anything. Like he wouldn't tell me about anything until I was about to skip it, and then he would be like, no, you got to go back, you got to go pick up this, or oh no, you have to go over here now, and you got to take care of that. So I mean, like, that was one of the more memorable games for me. But
that's awesome.
Like, my whole gaming like experience lifestyle can be summed into 2 words, and those 2 words are Tim Schafer. I don't know if you know who Tim Schafer is, but he was a game designer that worked for LucasArts. He is most known for games like Full Throttle, Grim Fandango, Psychonauts. He co-designed Day of the Tentacle, the sequel to Maniac Mansion. He was also the assistant designer on the Secret of Monkey Island series. So all of the terrible
adventure game.
Yeah, I think even more recently, like after LucasArts shut down, he started Double Fine Productions, which did Brutal Legend, which was the game with Jack Black as the metalhead that was in like a fantasy world. And then like even Broken Age, the game that came out a couple of years ago, he's all over that as well. He is to me, he's such a talented writer. His comedic timing, I think, is fantastic. Just his whole story, like he's worked on everything, just from being part of LucasArts. I know he was part of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, the action game. Like, that was a huge game in my childhood. He helped implement the Nintendo version of Maniac Mansion. Grim Fandango was one of those. For me, Grim Fandango and The Secret of Monkey Island and The Curse of Monkey Island, probably top 3 games of all time. I love those point and click adventure games so much, just because of the story that they told. Yeah. So
there are some really good adventure games out there.
Yeah, Sam and Max, all of those LucasArts games, like he had his hand in writing dialogue for that. So. I mean, it was like Monkey Island series, Grim Fandango, the Final Fantasy series. I remember playing Final Fantasy 1 on Nintendo when it first came out, and I remember like unlocking the slider game, like the little number slider game, like that was like an Easter egg, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, I think, is easily top 3 game of all time. I think a lot of people kind of feel the same way.
Yeah.
I really want to get into. They make a randomizer now, a Link to the Past randomizer, where
Super Nintendo randomizers are great.
Yeah, so I kind of want to get into that. I think that would be pretty incredible. So the Baldur's Gate games, I grew up on that. I played a lot of those games. A lot of the Wolfenstein 3D and the original Doom.
I gotta ask, did you ever discover the secret of Anne?
No, I never did.
He'll take it to the grave.
Yeah, I guess so. But I never found Disc 37 in The Secret of Monkey Island either. So so that was a game that came on 12 floppy disks. And there was a point in the game where you would be searching this forest, and it was like you would get lost in this forest unless you knew how to maneuver the way through. And there was a stump that you can inspect, and the stump was supposedly going to give you a super item if you could find copy disc number 37 and install the bonus equipment from that disc. So I never did find it. I just remember games being like a small game was like 6 floppy disks, and like in order to install them all. This before CD-ROMs, I don't the little
and you had to like mail order them. Do you remember when you had to like buy a game by sending a letter to the company with like a cash or a check and saying I would like to buy this game, and then they would like mail it back to you. And if you didn't send exactly enough money or whatever, like they might still send it to you and then be like, hey, you like short by like $2 or whatever, just like mail it back to us. It's good.
Yeah. Oh, I would say probably one of the most memorable games that I think was super influential for me and my dad to finally learn to get along was Myst. Myst was the first CD-ROM game we ever bought. I was kind of a troublemaker growing up. I kind of got in a lot of trouble. I wasn't necessarily the best kid in the world, but I don't remember what I did to warrant it, but I did something where I was grounded from like all gaming for like 6 months. And oh yeah, it was brutal. So I built a lot of puzzles during that time. I remember my dad came home with Myst, and he was like, "You can't play this, but you can take notes for me as I play it." So I got to, it was, my dad's a genius. Sat down. We didn't really spend time with each other, so it was a good chance for us to sit down and talk and puzzle solve together. And and ever since then, I was like on the straight and narrow. I wasn't such a bad kid after that, so I learned my lesson. Growing up, and Myst changed my life. Only to find out that you can beat the game in like 2 minutes.
Yep.
After you spend 6 months trying to solve every freaking puzzle in that game, it just leads you right back to the start. So. Oh man! All right. Well, yeah. I think we're pretty good. I think that's
that was a solid trip down memory lane.
Yeah,
we're right on time.
Yeah, we're pretty much out of time here.
Whew, that's good stuff.
That was a good episode. Thanks for everybody for stopping in and hanging out for a little bit.
Hey, you guys are great.
Yeah, thanks for listening. You know how to get a hold of us. Find us on the Discord. Yeah, sure. Two Dudes One Up Gaming. Find us on Twitter at 2dudes1up.
I put all of that stuff up on the Discord. Welcome.
Yeah.
All the information is there. Contact, email, Discord, Facebook, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So just send us some emails. Let us know what you guys want to hear about, and we'll bring it up in the future.
Comments.
Yeah.
Whatever you got, throw it at us.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll
definitely
be back
bring it up
at 9 p.m. Eastern, exactly a week from today.
Yeah,
talking about we don't know what yet.
Yeah, every 9 p.m. on Mondays on the Twitch. We have the YouTube channel now. We're going to try to get those up on Wednesday or Thursday, and that way we can all watch back and make fun of me and Chris. So just want to thank everybody again for coming on out, and wish you guys a good week, and happy gaming, guys.